Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. It is Thursday, March 27th, and we got a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. But as always, before we get started, shout out to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing good. I just got off work at the shoot job. Hope everyone else is having a good day as well. It's MLB opening day. Not much of a baseball fan these days, but I try to get in on the action a little bit here or there. So trying to keep my eye on, some of these games, some of these players. Maybe I'll get into it a little bit more throughout the season. I was a big baseball fan when I was a kid, but not so much as an adult. Never stayed much of a fan, but obviously I respect it. Those guys make massive, massive money. Pretty incredible. But are you a baseball fan at all?
I've watched the Reds blow an opening day lead. Their bullpen is trash. I don't expect them to be all that good this year, but maybe they'll surprise me. I enjoy the first couple of weeks, and then it's 162 games, and I just kind of check out very quickly in the season. Obviously, if big things are happening, I like tuning in and watching. But baseball, of the four major sports, baseball is my least interested one.
Yeah, I totally understand that. The Braves, I know the Braves have a good team, and I was like I said, I was a really big fan when I was a kid throughout the 90s and stuff. I like going to minor league games occasionally, that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to think if there was something else baseball related that I was going to bring up, but I can't remember what it was. It probably doesn't matter that much, but what about any other sports going on right now? Basketball, anything going your way right now, or
basketball game started. Basketball game started 7. My team is 15 games up in the Western Conference, so the regular season doesn't really matter at this point for me. I'm just ready for the playoffs in both sports, hockey and basketball, to start. I'm just waiting for the playoffs to start at this point.
I've been keeping my eyes recently on NHL hits, there's some guys on the board usually that have 0.5 as their number for hits. So some of those guys, it's pretty fun to watch and keep up with. The games are really long. The NHL games, it feels like. Are they not?
It's probably the shortest of all of the major sports. Football is every bit of 3 hours. Basketball is usually every bit of 3 hours. Hockey games are usually done in about 2.5.
Really? Yeah. It's I guess it's because it throws me off that they have they have the 3 courts or the 3 periods, but the intermissions are it feels like they're long in between for the intermissions. Maybe that's what throws me off about it.
Intermissions are, I think, 14 minutes. The intermissions 14 to 15 minutes, but the games it's a 20-minute period, so it's a 60-minute game, which is every bit of, football is a 60-minute game. Basketball is only a 48-minute game, but basketball takes forever in those 48 minutes because there's so many stoppages for fouls. They got the TV timeouts just like hockey does, but there's they go to reviews all the time. If there's a free throw, time doesn't come off the clock on a free throw, so that could be an extra just 2 minutes of real time. Hockey is it's very quick. They got the TV timeouts, but a 20-minute period usually lasts about 35 minutes of real time, give or take.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I was watching the other day. My mind's racing right now because I know college basketball is happening right now also. It's Sweet 16 now for that. So we have that going on. Hockey, I really like watching hockey though. Like actual sport is like incredibly impressive because I can't even ice skate. So like I can't even imagine like doing all that on ice skates while you have some of the best athletes in the world like coming at you. Trying to remember. God, I'm so thrown off because anyway, we don't need to talk about sports too much. We can move on to wrestling.
Okay. You good? Everything good?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right. We can start off with a little bit of wrestling then.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Yeah, I noticed that. You switched it up.
This is how you get a WrestleMania match nowadays, Jensen. You just point to the sign. That's all you do.
Is that a CM Punk reference?
I mean, it's
an
CM
everyone
Punk,
reference.
Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins reference because they had a big old brawl on Friday's SmackDown, and in the middle of it, they just decided, you know what? I'm just going to point to that sign right there. And that is how they declared that they wanted a match with each other at WrestleMania. And then it was made official. WrestleMania triple threat match. They will sign their contract tomorrow on SmackDown. Hopefully, no one just comes in and steals the contract and signs it for themselves. What's AJ Styles doesn't have a WrestleMania match. Why can't AJ Styles just come down and put his name on that contract? Make it a 4-way. It could happen. What's Sami Zayn doing? He doesn't have a WrestleMania match. He should just come on down, sign his name. Make it a 5-way with AJ. Logan Paul, throw him out there too. Everybody just come down and sign the contract tomorrow. But for now, it'll be Punk, Rollins, and Reigns signing the contract for WrestleMania. What'd you make of this brawl and sign pointing?
I mean, I thought it was good. Like, I like the fact that all three guys, it comes across like they actually all hate each other. So, like, even when they're brawling, like, one guy will be on top of the other guy, landing, punches to the face. The other guy comes up from behind, tries to throw him off, but like they just wind up fighting each other. Like no one's really helping each other. It just creates more and more fighting, which I like how the dynamic of like CM Punk, like when he came out, he's buddy with Paul Heyman, but still also like, they never actually mentioned what the favor is still, right? He like alluded to, you still owe me a favor, but they still haven't said technically what it is because you wouldn't need the favor to have this match, right? I mean, like this match naturally books itself, how things have played out. We're going to circle back around in a second, but you mentioned that AJ Styles and Logan Paul, like, do you not think that they're going to wrestle at WrestleMania against one another?
I do, but the build for that sucks.
We only have a few more weeks, don't we? When you really think about it.
It's like 3 weeks still.
That's not very long. But I mean, for a match like AJ versus Logan, to be honest, like in ring, that'll just be so good that's really what that's going to be really all about. Probably just a great in-ring match, and they might roast each other a little bit on social media. Maybe AJ Styles shows up an Impulsive sometime between now and then or something like to create some buzz. Like who knows? But as far as the actual triple threat, I know I brought it up the other week, but I feel like I'm leaning more and more like I feel like Seth should win the match. I really am. Like, okay. I feel like he's the one who's I can't say he's being overshadowed, but it's like a big deal to have, Punk and Roman against each other for the first time. Like in this, since Punk's come back, and obviously Roman has changed a lot. And because Punk left, for people who don't know, Punk left the company right around the time Roman was really getting going with the Shield. So in that sense, it feels like Seth is almost a little overshadowed, but and that's only because we've seen Punk and Seth wrestle each other a couple times already since Punk came back. And also there's so much being kind of put out there with Paul Heyman being in between kind of, he's obviously still Roman Reigns' guy, but he does owe Punk this favor. But I said it the other week, it'd be kind of random, but it'd probably work if they swerved and they did, Heyman winds up actually aligning with Rollins because maybe for whatever they can make it work and figure out a reason. But something as little as like you two guys like can't stay focused on what's important. You guys can't stay out of each other's way or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I owe you this, I owe you that, blah, blah, blah. Seth Rollins is over here, you know, he's my new guy, and you know, you kind of go from there. And I also think Rollins deserves a big win at WrestleMania after all he's done for the company the last, you know, decade plus, but especially the last handful of years, making other people look good year after year. It'd be good to see him actually get a W in a big spot at WrestleMania, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on that. What do you think about that? What do you think about Seth potentially winning?
I don't love Paul Heyman aligning with Seth Rollins out of all of this, because I don't know how much sense that actually makes. Like, they can explain it and make it make sense, but he's so in with Roman Reigns and he's so in with CM Punk that him just betraying both of them for Seth Rollins and like really establishing Rollins as the heel now, I don't know if that's the best move. Because I'm trying to think where, all right, so Rollins becomes the top heel effectively, but if John Cena is the champion, then Seth is going to play second fiddle to him. We go after Jey Uso? Does he go after that title? I don't fully love that. I just don't think a Heyman and Rollins pairing makes a ton of sense.
I'm with you though. I really don't think it makes a ton of sense either. That's why I was saying like there's ways they could make it make sense, but I agree with you. I'm just trying to think of, you know, ways that they would have Seth potentially win would maybe include something like that. It's also probably a long shot that he's winning. Like I have no idea what the odds are for the match, but I'd imagine of the three, he's probably the least likely to win. I would assume.
We can look at odds courtesy of Bet Online. They're a main channel sponsor, so we can give them a shout out. Let's see what the odds have, what they say for WrestleMania 41. I would imagine he's at the lowest though, but we'll get the odds here in just a second. I didn't know if you had anything to add.
No, I didn't know how fast was it going to be. I thought you were going to be able to get him up quick.
So it's actually pretty close. So Roman is at minus 130, so he's the favorite going into it. Seth is at plus 135, and Punk is at plus 175. So Punk's actually the biggest underdog. So, but it's fairly even when you look at some of these other odds, like Jey Uso's minus 800 compared to Gunther, who is plus 425. So it's a fairly even matchup here, but the odds have Roman Reigns as the favorite.
I figured Roman would be the favorite, but I figured it'd be like close between him and Punk.
I figured Punk would be third just because he's won a lot recently. You know, he won the feud with McIntyre. He won both matches. I didn't win the cage match technically against Seth, but he beat Seth in the one-on-one match. He pinned him in that match. It feels like Punk has won a lot of the feuds. Like Seth didn't come out of that feud as the winner. I know it's basically continuing, but people remember the Netflix premiere and Punk winning that. They don't remember Roman snatching snatching Rollins and Seth Rollins won that match. You remember Roman and Rollins and Roman taking everybody out, but you don't think of Seth as the winner of that match. And yeah, he won the McIntyre feud. So I can see why Punk would be third because he's won some of the bigger matches here.
Now, and we don't have to go down like this rabbit hole, but you mentioned McIntyre because like people forget. Well, I can't say people forget, but obviously Punk won the feud with McIntyre, and most people are gonna probably mainly remember the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, which I was there live for in Atlanta, which was an awesome match, definitely the match of the night. But Punk lost to McIntyre at what was it, SummerSlam, and Rollins was the special ref.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I brought that up is because McIntyre is the one kind of in the whole equation that feels like he got kind of snubbed the most. Like McIntyre it feels like he's just on like a higher level than, you know what does that make sense? Like, I don't know what he could potentially do instead of what he's doing this year at WrestleMania. Like, I don't know how he would factor in better for something else. You know, I haven't really thought about it, but it just feels like McIntyre, considering what he's done the last couple of years, and especially with that Punk feud, like, I don't know, it just feels like he should be in a bigger position at WrestleMania this year. But, you know, there's only so many.
And McIntyre, that was the whole thing with McIntyre, is everyone thought he should have been doing a little bit something bigger than Damian Priest. McIntyre kind of felt he should have been doing something bigger than Damian Priest. They've done well with the McIntyre Priest feud. I really liked the video package a couple weeks ago. I like that McIntyre basically kicked Priest's head off on Friday's episode. Like, McIntyre makes everything work, and he's going to make this work. He's going to continue to make it work. But yeah, it does feel like maybe he should be part of this, or maybe he should be in the world title picture with Gunther and Jey Uso, or maybe he should be going after Braun Breaker or LA Knight and one of those titles instead of just a feud with Damian Priest.
Do you think that Jey Uso is like, they're going to be able to keep the momentum strong enough that like this is going to turn out like good? Like, I know that sounds weird how I'm saying it, but like, assuming he wins the title at WrestleMania, like, because I felt, to be honest, it feels like when the Usos reunited, it didn't feel like that big of a deal this week to me. Like, they haven't tagged in like over a year, and it just didn't feel like that big of a deal. And I know how these like quote unquote fads happen in the WWE, where like stuff gets really hot, Rusev Day, stuff like that, where like, you know, it can, you know, so how, like, do you think that this is sustainable, I guess is my question. Like, assuming he wins it, which I expect him to win at WrestleMania. I do expect Jey Uso to win. Like, do you think it's sustainable with like how he's going?
I think it's sustainable for the live crowds. I think the live crowds are going to continue to love Jey Uso, and the entrance is going to continue to be over. What's not sustainable is them just making him out to be a bad wrestler.
Right.
I don't know if you saw the stuff on Monday where he fake slipped going for a spear, and it's like, oh, so now that's part of the bit, is he's just not a good wrestler. And he's, you know, Jimmy tried to fire him up, like, what are you doing, doubting yourself? Like, where's the guy that won the Royal Rumble? This dude, where's the guy that pinned Roman Reigns? Like, this dude sucks right now. And I think that was definitely part of the early story with Jey and Gunther. That's why Gunther didn't want to face him. He's like, I don't want to face you. I want to face John Cena. I want to face Cody Rhodes. I want to face somebody that's going to help my legacy. You are not on that level. And now they tried with Jey Uso to make it seem that way. But then Jey had the botch on the dive. Now it's like, oh, let's lean into him being a bad wrestler. It's like, I don't think you telling me this guy is a bad wrestler going into WrestleMania when he won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
That should be all the confidence in the world somebody needs, is like, I won the friggin' Royal Rumble. That should be the story. You can do the underdog thing. You can have some self-doubt. They did it. They literally did that last year with Sami Zayn going into the match with Gunther. Don't tell me and then show me, yeah, this guy actually sucks as a wrestler. I don't feel like that helps anybody.
Well, and he also, on top of everything you mentioned, he also went like, he almost beat Gunther at Saturday Night's main event. Like, it was, you know what I mean? It was close then. Yeah. And also, I don't know why they would want to draw more attention to him botching that was, I mean, like, it could have been way worse, obviously, but like that, the whole crowd was like so hyped for that moment. And then and then it went from everyone being hyped and yeeting to like concern because he landed neck first on the side of the ring apron. Like, that was dangerous. That could have been really bad. Also, by the way, maybe it's just my old age, and this is coming from somebody who reviews deathmatch wrestling on a consistent basis, so, you know, take this for what it's worth. But we're this close to WrestleMania. Like, why even risk some of this stuff?
I mean, it's just a dive over the top rope. It's literally what he does all the time. I mean,
I know.
Punk and Rollins in a cage match had more risk
for sure.
theoretically than that. Like Jey does that dive all the time. He screwed up this one time. Not a great time to do it, but it happens. Yeah, calling attention to it. Like if you want to call attention to it in some way, like I did like the Jimmy promo when they were on the stairs and talking and everything. Like I liked that. But then to make it worse of like, oh, now this guy can't even run properly, where he slips going for a spear. It's like, all right, so he flat out sucks. Like what do
So
we
bad.
And then, he's beating, rightfully so, mind you, like he's beating Grayson Waller. He's beating Austin Theory. It's like, all right, now you're telling me these guys suck as
He's
well.
beating him in like a minute also, right? Like, I mean, it's like one move wins. So.
Yeah, against Theory it was. Waller was a little bit longer. And then, when he faces Gunther, they've put themselves in a tough position because Jay's got to wrestle nearly a perfect match in this, because if something goes wrong and he screws up, or they purposely put a botch in there and then Jey wins, it's like, oh, so Gunther can't even beat this dude who screws up a headlock. Like, why? How is that possible?
It's a bad idea it's a bad idea to draw attention to that or make it your gimmick in any way, shape, or form. Because, like you said, if he accidentally botches at any point from now on while people are thinking about it, like even if they incorporate it into his gimmick, like how's that help him? Like for people to know that he's messing up so often, and if it's not intentional, obviously everyone's just gonna know. It's like having a magnifying glass on it. Like, that's actually pretty mind blowing that anyone would think it's a good idea to have like part of your gimmick be that you botch. Unless you're a straight comedy wrestler, like you can maybe make something work like that, but this is not that case.
Or you're Sabu at the ECW arena. You heard those stories, right?
Fair.
Where he'd work in botches, so they would chant "you fucked up," and then Sabu and whoever he was working with would just like laugh, like, "Ha ha ha! They think we fucked up, but we did that on purpose, just to pop himself." You got to respect that by Sabu.
That's so legendary, and that's also like that's why Sabu is such a top tier worker, because he did legitimately botch so often that he could use that as like a cover up. Like, nah, man, I'm known to mean to do that. Like, I meant to do that. That's so funny. I was actually watching the WCW Vault channel on YouTube, and they were showing early episodes of Nitro. I think it was like the second or third episode of Nitro, like ever. I think was when Sabu made his WCW debut, and he did like a dive through a table on the outside. I'm like, man, this is so crazy that like he was doing this in like 95 on national television, and and Hogan's like dropping a leg, barely moving, and like that's what's winning everything. And there's guys, it's just so funny looking back how all that worked. But I love the WCW Vault channel. I'd imagine they'll probably do the same thing for ECW soon, make their own like.
I think they already have one. I think they already have an ECW.
For ECW?
Channel. Yeah.
Oh, do they?
I'm fairly certain. I feel like they have one for ECW, WCW, their own, and NXT.
I don't know. The WCW one like just launched like within the last few weeks.
Oh, maybe they're just putting ECW stuff on the WWE Vault, because when I just searched it, there's a lot of ECW stuff already on the WWE Vault. So I guess that's where they're putting it for now. Yeah, I would imagine they'll move stuff over and they'll actually do an ECW Vault channel. Yeah,
it's sick. How they I like how they have basically these dedicated channels now, and they're creating more of them, because like my brother.
Yeah, it was really cool when it was all on one platform, like a network kind of thing, and you could find all of this stuff.
No, I agree, but I mean, YouTube is free. The network wasn't, to be fair, and I like that they're embracing the idea of free content on YouTube, because YouTube's so accessible. Every device, everyone has access to it. And we talk about it all the time. We've had Ernest the Cat Miller on the show before in the past, and my brother sees him all the time here in Atlanta at like these local boxing gyms. And the Cat said that he's just getting blown up like the last few weeks, because like everyone's like seeing his matches on YouTube, because they're running all these like live premieres of old Nitros and stuff. So all these people who like haven't seen him wrestle before, or like just, haven't seen him wrestle in a long time. So I think it's cool that like there's going to be a lot of new fans, a lot of people that discover and rediscover a lot of this stuff. I know that it was like available before, but it's different now with how like YouTube's way bigger now than it was before. Way more people use it and watch it, and they do all these watch parties and stuff now. So people are like constantly watching together and in the chat and stuff. And it's really, really smart. I think, as a fan, once again, it's great because it's all free. So I'll absolutely take it.
The other WWE spotlight was Grande Americano, Chad Gable, allegedly under a mask. You seem to enjoy this segment.
Dude, I love the whole gimmick and the whole thing. I think it's hilarious. And what's great about it is Chad Gable is like getting better in the ring, like legitimately, because of like, I'm not going to say like he couldn't do Hurricane Ranas and stuff before, because like I'm sure he could, but like that's part of the gimmick is like he's actually learning lucha libre and incorporating it into his matches. And Chad Gable is already an incredible talent. Like I was a really big fan of his in NXT, him and Jason Jordan, American Alpha. I thought they were an awesome tag team. I thought they were like the future of tag team wrestling. I still don't know why they decided to go the route that they did when they did, like when they like broke them up and tried to make like Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's son and stuff. Like, I don't know why they did all that when they had like this great potential team. And obviously Jordan getting hurt, that was later on when he was teaming with Rollins. But my point is, I've been a fan of Chad Gable for a long time, and I like that he's being like featured on the show as often as he is. Like he's had really good matches with guys like Penta and stuff as well. Like super, super reliable. And everyone's always known he's had, and he's always had personality. And we've seen him go through like the Shorty G era where like he had to be like a goofy comedy wrestler, and like he made it past that, which is, not everyone could have made it through that and like came out the other end, like, in a decent spot in today's landscape. So, that's why I like it so much. Like, I think it's funny. I think that Chad Gable's funny. I think that Chad Gable's an incredible wrestler, and like, this is only making him better and more interesting. So yeah, I think the whole thing works.
I like Gable's portrayal. I have no issue with the actual stuff that they are doing because it's an American doing a luchador bit. They've done it a million times, and they'll probably do more of it. I don't need Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America being presented from there. It's already divisive enough. You don't need to further it with that kind of stuff.
I get it, but I'm also very much in the camp of like, it's clearly meant to be like Chad Gable's like, he's a heel in wrestling. Like, I don't know. I don't want to speak for people. Like, I'm not in the camp of people that can speak on this. You know what I mean? So it just is, I'll just say, I've seen things that were like really, really, really past the line that I would absolutely say like should not ever be seen in wrestling and stuff like that. To me, this is just like, it's a goofy comedy that eventually is going to, the end game is Chad Gable is going to be more over as a heel. Like that's, and he's already a great wrestler. Like I want to see Chad Gable at a level where he can be like considered like a main event level guy. Like if this is part of that path to eventually get there, I'm good with it.
Is he going to be more over as a heel? Like he was pretty over as a heel when he was just Chad Gable dressing down Otis and nearly turned Otis into one of the top baby faces.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We have to see how this all winds up playing out. But I mean, this wasn't on my bingo card of like Chad Gable becoming a luchador. Like I didn't expect this to happen, but until he started, feuding with luchadors and, but I just think, I don't know. I just think the whole thing is pretty funny, and I'm a Chad Gable fan. So, but if it's something that offends you, I'm not going to sit here and try to change your mind either. Like everyone's allowed to feel how they feel about this kind of stuff. But I also don't imagine it's going to last very long. So
I think it's lasting until at least Mania. It feels like he's going to do potentially a mask versus mask match against Rey Mysterio. Like that feels like the
great
end game.
idea. That's a great idea.
Oh, it's a great idea. Again, I don't have a problem with Chad Gable doing the luchador bit because it's been done before. It's a nice little, like, it's a nice comedy bit. I don't feel like it's going to make Chad Gable any more of a heel because he's probably going to lose and then he's going to be unmasked. And it's like, oh, it's Chad Gable. Like, we didn't know that was the thing. Like, all right, it's funny. There's nothing wrong with it. But the whole Gulf of America thing was off-putting to me, especially when you're a company working with Tony Hinchcliffe and Andrew Schultz, and you've already got your mother-in-law is on the board of education and trying to tear that whole thing, not even on the board, she's the friggin' leader of the thing, and trying to end all of that. Not real great optics leaning into stuff like that and saying Gulf of America.
Is the roast live or is that taped?
It's live, but I don't think it's airing. I don't know if it's going to air like at all, like even taped.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Okay. You just reminded me by bringing up like Hinchcliffe and stuff. I forgot that they were doing the roast, and that can go a lot of different ways. So anyways, right. I like the Gable stuff. I get what you're saying though. Like I'm not going to sit here and try to change your mind about that. Like I understand, but yeah, we'll see.
I do like that he goes onto the streets and tries to find the dark arts of Lucha Libre. And apparently it's just an American mask and he puts it on. And now all of a sudden he is a luchador.
Yeah, it's funny because like they have this whole lore of like this non-existent luchador legend. And like even the commentary is like, we've Googled this guy and we can't find anything, you know? And like McAfee is like, this guy's so underground that that's why you can't find anything. It's like, it's just, you know, it's goofy. It's supposed to be goofy. It's supposed to be funny.
Yes, it is goofy and it is funny. I wish they would not reference real world things that are going on.
I get it.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show. And I think it's been a run of great shows.
Sorry, I didn't mean to have Tony Khan cut you off.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was going to say at the beginning of the show, I kept getting sidetracked because there was something I kept telling myself. I was like, make sure to bring this thing up. And I kept forgetting what that thing was. At 7:30 today, in about 20 minutes from now, Matt Makowski is joining the show. I was like, I wanted to bring that up at the beginning, and I kept forgetting what I meant to bring up. So Matt Makowski will be joining in about 20 minutes, everybody. Looking forward to catching up with him. But yeah, AEW. Let's talk about that before Matt gets here.
AEW, Swerve Strickland and Jon Moxley had a promo battle on Wednesday's Dynamite, and Swerve said, what happened to Jon Moxley used to be synonymous with the title. Now you're hiding behind everybody and you're hiding the title because you know that it doesn't belong to you. Moxley said, the guys like you give me hope, but can you step up to the plate? And if you do win at Dynasty, can you continue to carry this title? And then Swerve said, you bleed pints, I bleed buckets. You're unscripted violence, I am violence. I'm going to start the Dynasty or continue the Dynasty era, and you're just going to play Jon Moxley on television. What'd you make of this whole promo segment?
I thought it was fantastic. This was the best. This is the most, like, I don't know if coherent is the right word, but this is the most, like, from Moxley's side. This made more sense than anything he said since the Death Riders started. And Swerve now to me seems more likely, way more likely now than it did a week ago. And just in my own personal opinion, it seems way more likely that he has a legitimate chance of winning now, Swerve. Than like I believe way more that Swerve can win now than I did last week. Will he win? I don't know. I don't know if I'm quite there as far as like thinking he will be the one to beat Jon Moxley or not, but he checks every box as far as like the right person to do it. Like, he's super over still. He has great matches consistently. They're going to, honestly, what I'm most concerned about is them trying to one up each other as far as like but you know what I mean? Like Swerve's got he had the match with AR Fox and Lucha Underground, that legendary match everyone always talks about, that death match. But on top of that, obviously, all the stuff he did with Hangman, the syringe spot, that obviously Mox is coming off of the spikes. I mean, like, I'd imagine these two guys are coming up with like absolutely disgusting ideas for what they're going to do to one another on pay-per-view. So I'm a little concerned there. I hope they don't go too far, but we'll see. I think the match is going to be incredible. And I know that Jon Moxley, I've talked about it 1,000 times on this show, but I know Jon Moxley is a Swerve fan, like he was before Swerve even got to AEW. So, Moxley's going to want to go out and like have a great match with a guy that he respects and he's a fan of himself. I liked all of this. I thought this was really, really good. And I can't stress it enough. Like, this really was, I like that Moxley came out and like actually talked about something that like, it like made sense. And he made it sound like if Swerve beat him, like Swerve's the right kind of guy to beat him. Like Moxley, it feels like Moxley would be okay with a guy like Swerve beating him, but he's not ready for that to happen yet. So like Moxley's going to try to, retain over Swerve, but Swerve once again is like an actual like formidable opponent for him for the championship. So, how did you feel about the segment? And do you think Swerve is actually going to beat Mox at this point, or like, are you still like totally sold on that?
I thought the segment was great. The only kind of criticism is Moxley talking about, can you handle that pressure and everything. It's like, this dude's been champion before. It's not like he hasn't been world champion. Like he headlined All In last year. He lost to Bryan Danielson, and Moxley could have referenced that and like, you think you're ready for this pressure, but what happened? And maybe they'll get to this, but what happened when you were in the main event of the biggest show of the year? You crumbled. Like maybe that's something they'll bring up, but that was the only small criticism of like, hey, you're talking to a guy who has headlined major shows and been the world champion before. I think some of that material could have worked better if it was like an Ospreay, just because Ospreay hasn't won the world title before in AEW. So maybe it works a little bit better there. The flip side to that is Jon Moxley's delusional, and he's been talking in riddles for months now. So maybe in his mind, he does believe that this is a different scenario, and that Swerve of last year, who held the title, is not the same Swerve of this year. A lot of things have changed, and is he ready now to take that spot? And in Moxley's mind, no, he is not, and he's trying to tell him he is not. So you can make it make sense if you want to, mold it to fit Jon Moxley's character a little bit. As far as who's going to win, I think it's Moxley. I really think it's Moxley. And I think the Hangman interaction before Swerve and Moxley, that's there and it's going to be there. And I know Hangman said, I'm going to focus on myself and I'm going to enter the Owen, but then Swerve gets in his face and Hangman's like, bitch, did I stutter? Like, you heard what I said. I'm going to make sure you are not the champion. And Swerve trying to push up on him like that. Hangman's going to remember that and be like, all right. You're not winning this title, buddy. Not if I got anything to say about it. So I kind of think that is how it plays out next weekend, is Hangman cost Swerve.
Interesting. I mean, I'm with you 100% on that. And I definitely thought the same as far as like those interactions. But if it isn't Swerve, which I don't think it will be either, because I still think it'll be Hangman. Obviously Darby was the first choice, but I still I think that's out. That's off the table. I think at this point, I don't think it's going to be Darby because of timing and everything. I have to assume it's still Hangman to beat Moxley. Like, can you think of anyone else who would be the one to beat Moxley? Because the reason I asked this before you answer is because if Hangman screws Swerve, and then Hangman winds up getting a shot, you would got to think that Swerve would stop Hangman from winning,
So here's the kind of tricky thing. They've already announced competitors for the Owen, right? Like we've already got Jay White, Hangman, Will Ospreay are all
stacked so far.
right now, the Owen is likely not starting until after Double or Nothing. So if you've already got these three guys in it, unless you're running back Swerve and Moxley at Double or Nothing, who's Moxley facing at Double or Nothing?
That's a good question.
Unless Darby's back, but I don't know if he fully will be for that.
Can you get like Osprey in that spot? Well, he's in the Owen.
Yeah, like he's already in the Owen. And look, it's very possible that Hangman faces Moxley at Double or Nothing, and then Hangman's just out of the Owen because he's the champion, and maybe Moxley enters the Owen. Like, you can always switch it up, but the fact that they are announcing names this early and telling you, hey, these guys want to be in this tournament because that's their road to headlining All In and challenging for the world title. It's like, okay, but there's also a pay-per-view and a lot of shows before you get to All In. Are you telling me they're not going to challenge for the world title between now and All In? Then what are you doing at Double or Nothing?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and something we need to keep our eyes on, because as you mentioned, they have a stacked lineup so far, just a few people we know for the Owen, but that takes three big name players out for that time if they aren't going to challenge before All In. So, and obviously we had to assume if they have those three, the rest of the field is going to probably be pretty stacked also. Like, you know,
well, you're going to have your names in there that are there to lose. So
sure.
Like, you're probably going to have someone, Beast Mortos as always, just put Beast Mortos in a tournament. Like,
Mark
people got to
Davis.
take losses.
Yeah. I will say this, I just threw Mark Davis's name out there, but I think he actually looked really good in the 4-way match the other week, or that last week. Just want to throw that out there. Some of these guys, you forget how good they are because it's like such a crazy roster of talent. And a guy like Davis especially gets lost in the mix because, like, most of his career, at least that I've been watching him, he's been surrounded by Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, who are like, you know, Kyle Fletcher's like the future of the business, I feel like. That guy is so insanely talented. And Ospreay is already there. It's just a matter of time before he's the AEW World Champion, you would imagine. So, yeah, but you got me thinking now about, like, who will challenge Moxley in the meantime, because I've got to assume he retains over Swerve. And the only other thing that could maybe happen is that somehow between now and Hangman's shot at Moxley, Hangman and Swerve somehow get on the same page, unless they're going to go back to them against each other, like, which is always possible. But I think it'd be pretty wild if, like, Swerve actually, like, ultimately, like, helped Hangman at the end of this thing, like, or something. Like, you, like, unexpectedly, those guys, like, wind up aligning for, like, the greater good. But obviously you'd have to make it make sense, you know. But I feel like there's money in that at some point too, like these two guys who, but it's also one of those things where it's kind of like, considering what they've done to one another, realistically speaking, they should never be friends. So, you know,
I think best case scenario is Swerve wins at Dynasty. He faces whoever he faces at Double or Nothing. Maybe you run it back against Moxley in some type of gimmick match, whatever that might be. Hangman wins the Owen, and you do Hangman and Swerve headlining All In, because it still feels like they're going to build towards Hangman and Swerve at All In. But are you just going to do that as a non-title match then? If Jon Moxley is still the champion, I feel like fans are going to be pretty disappointed if you go non-title with that match.
That's honestly probably the right move. I think that's probably, like, if they have Swerve just go ahead and win, then yeah, I would do that. I think that's probably, if I was booking the show, which I'm obviously not, that's probably the route that I would go. I feel like the Death Riders thing has kind of been played out the most. It's really, you know, like, what more do you really have to do with this? Honestly, at this point, I feel like it didn't really work to begin with. You know, I like Wheeler Yuta. I like guys involved. I think Claudio's super, super talented, obviously. Like, there's a lot of great talent involved in the whole story. I get all that. But at the end of the day, like, I think AEW's better off just put the title on Swerve and build towards Swerve and Hangman at your biggest show of the year. I'm 100% in on that. I'm all in on that, as a matter of fact.
All right, we got a guest. Jensen, if you want to set up our guest here.
Yes, we do have a live guest here on the show today, a returning guest, friend of the show. It's always cringe saying that, but I'm going to call him a friend of the show. He is Weapon X. Matt Makowski, who is now of a bit of a rebrand. Matt, hey, can you see us and hear us okay?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Good to see you, man. How you been?
Great. How are you guys?
Oh,
Good,
doing
man.
Awesome. Thank you for joining the show. I'm going to put a tweet up that
Appreciate
you're on
it, yeah.
here. Matt, before we get into anything, I know that you're going through a bit of a rebrand right now. Please tell us all about this.
Well, I would just kind of call it like a maybe a new coat of paint. You know, it's just I mean, I'll give you the full story, I guess. I mean, this kind of gimmick is always what I wanted to do. You know, I didn't necessarily want to go by my real name. That was kind of thrown on to me by, basically Quackenbush. That was kind of just what we rolled with. And we never even really talked. I don't even know how to explain it. But the joke is, between me and my wife, was that I was going to be a seahorse. And like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Chikara. Steven, you're looking at me like you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, no. I'm very familiar with Chikara.
Yeah.
Like, I know the gimmicks and the ants and all that. So, yeah, I got you.
So I was going to be, but just between me and my wife, I was going to be a seahorse because you don't really, at Chikara, you didn't really pick your gimmicks. Mike, he found a role for you, and then that's kind of what it was. And so I just think it's funny that I don't know. And then I don't know, a couple of months ago, I was just messing around and I knew I wanted to just change something a little bit or whatever. And I was like, I don't know, I might have even been watching a documentary about the ocean or something. And I'm just like, man, it's right there. Like, I'm just going to go with it. I know. So it's, we'll call it a soft rebrand. I mean, not much is changing. I should have some new gear coming in soon, that kind of thing. Still Weapon X, still King of the Cross Armbreaker, you know. Just maybe a little more of an edge here and there every now and then. We'll see. That's basically the story behind that. I guess I always just kind of felt weird going by my full like Polish last name.
Sure. Well, it's always funny. Well, I shouldn't say funny, but it's interesting because you're one of the few guys that, like, if you like Googled your full name, you have like a sure dog and you have like your MMA career and all, like you find a whole bunch of stuff, not just wrestling related. So
I feel, and I've thought about that, like, in terms of whatever. I mean, I honestly don't think it's going to be that much harder to find with this. Again, especially since it literally is the first four letters of my actual name. Like, I don't know. It just kind of works, and it might help me relax a little bit and just kind of be maybe get more into, I don't know, like more of a character, if you will. I don't know. I've always had there's always just been this weird aura about me working under my own name, and then I have to like be a real asshole to people or whatever. Like, I know it's a weird thing to talk about, but like, I'm open to talk about it. I don't know, just something where I couldn't like kayfabe myself. It's hard to explain.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that makes sense though, because I mean, wrestlers, I don't feel like we're peeling back the curtain here too much, but a lot of it's character work, right? Like, they're referencing it on TV all the time. Swerve Strickland literally just said you're playing Jon Moxley on television, like, because this Jon Moxley is a different version than the Jon Moxley that years ago was taking over and running AEW. The Rock tweets all the time, the final boss is just a character, everybody. So yeah, it feels like if you're using your real name, you almost have to be that MMA fighter type person, where if you shorten it, you can kind of play around with it a little bit more. Am I off base here?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, and that's kind of where I'm going a litlittle bit, is like, I'm ready to just blow the whole roof off of, I guess, kayfabe and stuff, and almost like just make this crazy mix where you don't, people, because now it's like, obviously people know everything, or especially the hardcores are like, they know everything that's going on, or they at least think they do. And so, like, I'm ready to just talk about it and like just be this mix of, like, the like Steve Austin meme where he's like, is he working or shooting, brother? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want it to be that at all times. Like, you don't know, because the part of the great thing about wrestling, at least from maybe when we were watching it in our youth, was like, we kind of thought it was real or whatever. It's just like, it made it fun, and it still can be very fun at the way it is now. But like you were just referencing, a lot of the promos and the content that high level wrestlers are putting out is like kind of shrouded in this like not kayfabe, non-kayfabe thing. And it's, they talk about whatever, like from a couple years ago where Jericho was talking about like insider terms or whatever. Like there was a promo where he was talking about that. And it's basically, so it's all just kind of like, you've been hearing kayfabe is dead for years now, or I don't know how long, but I don't necessarily like agree with that per se, but it's just it's almost a way to like just make it, I don't know, just kind of make it confusing for people where they're not sure what's happening, basically.
I love that. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was gonna say, I feel like what would help work a lot of people is if you could grow your hair and your beard out like you had in this video, where from early spring 2020, like was this your real hair and everything in early spring 2020?
So that is from a series of videos I made. There was about 6 videos I put out on Twitter, my social media, that I called the Comeback Series, which it chronicled my recovery from my ACL surgery. And basically that was this has happened before, where Hollow Wicked has visited me in my mind. And he basically at that time 2 years ago gave me a little pep talk and told me to kind of snap out of it. I was going through a lot of stuff, living down in a tree house, a lot of anxiety about what I wanted to do coming back to wrestling. I don't know, maybe I could shoot you guys the links. I need to put them on YouTube and stuff, but yeah, that was like a little mini movie I made that I split up into a bunch of chunks and released leading up to my return in the summer of 2023.
I can't remember when we had you on last, but
maybe that one of the blood sports? It might have been two, 3. I don't know, 2. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember how long we've done this. The reason I'm asking is because I was going to ask how the recovery went, because I don't know if we've actually talked on here since you returned.
Actually, I think, Jeremy, I remember we chatted. I know I was on that quick thing after the blood sport with Charlie Dempsey, but then I was on before that. I think around the time like I was coming back to wrestle, maybe like Calvin Tankman at Black Label or something, or I can't remember.
Yeah, you were on In the Weeds, the morning show that I do. You were on there shortly after WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, you did the quick flyby after the Dempsey thing, which we really appreciate, and then you were on for a longer sit down interview like a couple weeks after.
Oh, that might have been it. Yeah.
Gotcha. I just wanted to know just kind of how the process was, and the kind of just getting back, like the actual recovery, and then the feeling of getting back in the mix and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I feel great now. It doesn't bother me at all. I wrestled with a knee brace on for about 5 months, maybe, just almost mental. From what I've been told, like bracing doesn't actually do a whole lot, and then eventually over the long term can be detrimental because your muscles and your ligaments get used to the brace supporting the joint, whereas opposed to your body needs to be able to do that on its own. So eventually I shed the brace. It was around New Year's Eve. I remember the exact match. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to leave it gonna leave it back here. And again, more of a mental thing, just to kind of a hurdle to get over. Yeah, I mean, I took so Jeremy, when I tore my ACL in the spring of 2022, I did not cut my hair.
Okay, so that was kind of what I was getting at earlier.
Yeah.
It was like that was really from that time period, and you had because ever since I've known you, you've always had short hair, shaved head, and short beard. And then I see this photo or video, and I'm like, wait, is this a wig? Did you glue things on? I was very confused.
Yeah, no. So there was a tweet that was pinned on my on my Twitter for a while. It was the final, like the finale of this little series, and I basically recreated like shot for shot the montage from Rocky 4. Yes, I'll send it to you after. And it was like a little highlight of some of the stuff I had done up to that point, and then it was me shaving my head, kind of like all right, I'm coming back, after, because Hollow Wicked had convinced me, or at least gave me this pep talk to kind of get back into the game. But yeah, I mean, that's just so that, and then I appreciate you guys bringing up the promo and stuff like this. That's always what I wanted to do, is just tell fun stories, have great matches paired with that. And, I've been just kind of been going through a lot over the last few months about like where my career's at, and what, I still have goals to, I would say ultimately I do want to be on, like, I basically want to get to AEW, ROH. But I have to also accept that may never happen just because circumstances or whatever. And if I'm going to continue to wrestle, I need to be happy with what I'm doing. And that's kind of part of the name change. It's just like, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it, kind of thing. I had been kind of operating under the, like, and again, this might be from the Matt Makowski thing, where I was kind of trying to be what I thought people wanted me to be, if that makes sense. Just from a in-ring stamp, well, not necessarily in-ring, but like, I don't know. I just, I definitely, I have my own, I cared a lot about what other people think, as a lot of people do. And of course, in this industry, that is essentially what it is all about, unfortunately. And this can be very detrimental to our mental health and things like that. So I've been trying to work on that a lot over the past few months, and honestly years, just even since I came back. Like when I came back, I had a great match with Marcus Mathers at American Rana Beyond Wrestling. And then I wrestled Alex Coughlin in one of his last matches at JCW. And these were like big, these had been announced, I was like really training hard for this, especially like a guy like Alex Coughlin. That was probably the best I ever looked, like physically, because I know I needed to at least like not let this guy put me to shame, because he's a specimen. And after that, I kind of was like, oh man, like I'm like nowhere near where I thought maybe I would be when I came back. And just in terms of maybe like momentum or just notoriety, whatever you want to call it. And this kind of hit me kind of hard. And because I felt like before I had gotten hurt, I had just been in Mexico wrestling Hechicero. I main evented BLP against Tom Lawler in my debut there. I can't remember if you were there for that one, Jeremy, but and I had a bunch of cool bookings lined up for WrestleMania that year, which I think was in San Diego or something. Anyway, and then it all kind of came crashing down, and so I was gearing up for this comeback, and yeah, I honestly, I've been pretty like just not in a good headspace from that like fall 2023 to about like the end of last year, the end of 2024 or so. And, was just contemplating where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And, a lot of talks with mostly my wife, but, my family and a lot of things. And just like, I don't know, kind of got the green light to just like, hey man, just go for it, And, so, that's what I'm doing. And I'm also just trying to do it kind of in my way. Again, I compare myself to a lot of people. I see a lot of people, they're wrestling 3 times every weekend. They're going all over the place. As a a father of 2 young children and all this other stuff, I can't necessarily do that. But I still believe that I could potentially get a job in wrestling or get signed or whatever, regardless of that. Where it's the year's 2025, you can see wrestling matches pretty much anywhere in the world. It's not so much. I know it's very important to still get around, get your name out there in front of live fans. That is very crucial, and I still want to do that. It's just I might not be able to do it as hard as like Marcus Mathers, for example. I respect that kid so much. He's like the biggest workhorse in professional wrestling. But I'm just not gonna be able to match that type of work rate in terms of like matches and stuff like that. But he's certainly in a spot, I would maybe like to be one day. Independent wrestling champion, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I just, again, been doing a lot of soul searching when it comes to professional wrestling and all that.
I'm sure you've heard this quote before, but the comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah.
Quote, yeah. Yes. And that is something I try to tell myself as well. Like, you can't compare yourself to others because we all got different circumstances and we don't know what somebody else is going through. Obviously, not everyone knows what we are going through, but to try to relate it to your situation here is, especially when it comes to like kids and everything, like it's very easy for 20-year-old single guys go out there and just wrestle 15 times a week, and it's like, all right, well, I got kids at home, I can't quite do that. I'm the same way. I got multiple kids. It's like, all right, it's cool that you guys can do all that stuff. I got kids here to take care of. Like, I try to do what I can, but I try not to let that. It's not an excuse or anything. It's just like,
right,
there are more important things that you got to deal with, and you can't worry about what somebody else is doing because their circumstances are much different than yours. A question on top of that, but I'll let you go ahead first.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I've sort of, not that I ever put my wrestling over my family, but I've sort of like, I've just accepted that wrestling is going to be second, and then whatever my family needs is going to be number one. So those two things do kind of line up sometimes. It would be nice for my family if I had a career in wrestling. It would be some big changes we'd have to make, but those are things. Again, I've talked to my wife about this. Those are things we're willing to do if it comes to that. Yeah, other than that, I just want to do what makes me happy in this business. Part of me too wants to, and I've been kind of brainstorming ways to go about this, but I want to be like a mental health advocate in professional wrestling. I just see there's so many folks that are just, it's hard. This is hard. It's hard. It's probably hard for you guys. It's hard for us. It's just, everything's tough, and just especially the way I don't want to get political or anything, but it's just tough. I don't know. There's a lot of stress, and if there's anything I could do to help with that, that would make me feel good about the remainder of my career, regardless of what happens in terms of me getting signed or winning, belts or whatever. If I can help some workers, if I can help some fans with some other things, outside of wrestling, I think that's going to be like my direction, in terms of just what I'd maybe like to do with whatever time I have left in professional wrestling. And I really don't know. There's no way to know how long that is. I mean, I would love to be around for a while. But things happen all the time. Something happened to me 3 years ago or whatever, and that could have been the end right there. But here I am now.
My question.
You had a question, right? Yeah. Sorry.
So you mentioned like how people maybe expect you to wrestle. Like, did you feel that people sort of expected you to be like MMA type fighter kind of guys? Like, oh, okay, I got to do a lot of kicks, a lot of strikes, and submission, grappling kind of stuff, and you couldn't go outside of that?
Not necessarily. I maybe misspoke a little bit in terms of in ring. It was more like mannerisms and body, like I'm a nerdy guy. I'm a fun guy. Like, I like to smile. I'm not necessarily out to hurt people. You know, I guess that's more what I'm getting at. Where, you know, this is a very physical thing, and I've been an MMA fighter, you know, like but it's about competition for me. It was never about like trying to intentionally, it's not about, it wasn't about hurting somebody like outside of sport, if that makes sense. You know, obviously things like combat sports are very, it's a very, I don't know a good word, but
I know what you're saying. Like the goal of this sport is like you're neutralizing an opponent. You have to fight the other person. Like someone's going to get hurt to some degree, but like you're not doing it to hurt someone. It's the sport of like who's the better athlete, basically.
Like basically, I'm not trying to injure them on purpose. I went into every fight with the mentality it's kill or be killed. Like you especially in MMA, like I feel like you kind of have to have some kind of that mentality a little bit, because that guy that's a trained basically killer on the other side of the ring, and now you're in this cage and it's time to go. You got to do what you've been training to do. But again, that was the sport of it and everything is what attracted me to it. I've always been I love like the jack of all trades type of thing. Like I love like the decathlon during the Olympics. That's a very appealing event to me. Like I love the idea of just being, I realize there's some tropes with that. Like, what is it? Like, I can't remember the quote, but it's like when you're good at everything, but you're not great at anything kind of thing.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. Like, master of none or whatever. Yeah. You know, I realize there's some of those things. Like I don't want to be mediocre at everything, but just this is what also attracted me to professional wrestling, because you have to be so good or great at so many different things if you really want to excel. And it's very similar to like mixed martial arts or a decathlon in that way, where you have to be good at the physical stuff, the you know, talking and just performing, all the performative elements that goes into this. You know, professional wrestling is probably the most misunderstood art form on the planet. And, you know, I feel like a lot of times if people just say, oh, he's an MMA fighter, then I kind of have the shaved head and whatever. I look mean. Like, I feel like I'm misunderstood as well. Just like maybe sharks are misunderstood. You know, they're not actually, more people die from cows than they do from sharks. Okay. Just so you guys know, I've been looking up facts. I got Matt facts about sharks coming out. Just be ready.
I like that. I like that analogy, though. I totally get what you're saying. On kind of the flip side of that, and this kind of ties into your most recent match, you have someone who is known like as a character and as a great worker and as somebody who's been handed down skills from other legendary workers, someone who's had a big hand in your development as well. Cheeseburger, you just wrestled them.
Yes.
And I know I just kind of wanted to know kind of your thoughts, I guess, on your most recent match, which I really enjoyed. Y'all can check that out on IWTV. And just kind of your history with him. And I didn't know if like kind of the rebrand all maybe went hand in hand with like that. You kind of maybe because of your relationship, like now was kind of a good time. Like you just had this match with Cheeseburger, y'all that history. He kind of gave him that endorsement, and it was kind of time for like your next chapter.
I would say that lines up. That wasn't necessarily my exact thought. I kind of wanted to do this. I took a break from about December to January. I didn't do anything. It was basically we'll call it a mental health break. I was an extra at AEW at the end of December, and that was a fun experience. But I didn't wrestle. I did like a student show in the mid-December, and then my last match before that was like the David or the giant Georgian Olympic wrestler at Bloodsport.
Oh, Maz the Josh Valley or whatever. Yeah. He's only had the one match.
Very nice man.
Yeah. Well, you're the only person he's done any pro wrestling against.
Yes, I was his first match, so you know, good for him. And yeah. So, but anyway, so I basically told myself I'm going to take a break till like March. I think I said. just to recharge the batteries a little bit. I had gained some weight. I needed to kind of shed some pounds and a bunch of stuff. And I think somebody hit me up about a booking in February 22nd in Pittsburgh, IWC. And I was like, you know what, let's just do that. We'll start there. So I wrestled Spencer Slade February 22nd, and then a bunch of stuff. And then that led up to this match against Cheeseburger, which I was ecstatic about, to be able to wrestle one of my coaches, somebody that's done. He just deserves so much more credit than he gets. I mean, he gets some love every now and then. He'll show up at he'll be like on a AEW, ROH as a whatever, and he gets a lot of love every time. I think people just, maybe randos just like his name and all that, right? It's very fun, but he's like a, I don't want to say hidden gem, but he's a shining star in the indie wrestling or professional wrestling landscape. Such a nice person, such a generous person. He took a group of us that were kind of like whatever, like lost sheep or whatever you want to call us, and brought us in when the Wrestle Factory closed, and a lot of us needed a place to go. Cheeseburger was there with open arms, and he's a phenomenal trainer. He's a phenomenal wrestler. That was actually one of my favorite matches I ever had a couple days ago. So I was super happy about that. And we got to tell a great story, and just kind of, I came up short in that title match. I wanted that belt, but anyway, Cheeseburger. I made a reference to the movie The Matrix. I feel like I'm old making these movie references,
We're
but again,
right there with you, dude.
such a great movie. I can't believe these kids these days haven't seen these good movies. I made a Morpheus and Neo reference, and I think Morpheus ended up beating Neo that first time they fought, but Neo did end up becoming the one. So I just want to keep Cheeseburger on his toes, if you know what I mean. I'm actually wrestling on a team with him this weekend. If it's okay if I talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is very important to me too. I really appreciate you guys having me on here and chat about this stuff. But so Power Pro Lucha, new promotion in Philadelphia. The name of the show is Regeneration. I guess, I haven't talked to them specifically, but it's essentially, it's going to be very Chikara-esque. It's the, in terms of its storytelling, the characters, things like that. So that's something that I feel has been missing from professional wrestling since 2021 or whatever it was. And, I think these guys are trying to bring it back a little bit. It's the Cyberhawks are kind of running the show. I don't know if that's public, sorry, but it's not anybody. It's workers from the old company. There's nobody else in terms of, I don't know if anybody's curious or whatever.
Sure.
It's all kind of fresh stuff with, and then you can check out the roster for the next show on their socials. But so I'm in a 5-on-5. I think they're calling it the Lucha Armada Elimination Tag. I'm actually on a team with Cheeseburger this weekend. Me, Gummy Boar, that's Erica Lee, and and Boar. I don't know if he still calls himself the Proletariat Boar of Moldova, but that used to be his name.
Awesome.
And who's our last partner? Oh, Weber Hatfield.
Oh, okay.
Who won the tournament? The Wrestle Cup at So I'm on the good guy side this weekend, and I'm going up against Hollow Wicked, Mantis, Frightmare, and then a reconstituted Fist, as Hollow Wicked called it. Akuma, Gran Akuma. I don't know if you remember him. That's a throwback name. And then Travis Huckabee, who is also a member of Fist at one point. So I believe that's the main event for this weekend's Power Pro Lucha show. There's lots of other great matches on the show. The Colony will be there. The sea creatures. We were just talking about them. They're going to be there. The creatures of the deep. So yeah. Anyway, it should be fun. It's at Drexel University in Philadelphia, and I'm super stoked about it. I love shows that are only like half hour away. IWTV 6 o'clock. IWTV 6 o'clock. It's sold out, but follow their socials for for info on upcoming events. So yeah.
Hell yeah, another show that was on IWTV. It's funny because you gloss past everything you've done, since February. One thing that really stands out to me, also once again available on IWTV, was on Beyond Wrestling's RSP's Death Day. You had a thumbtack kick pads match against TJ Crawford. And so I guess kind of your thoughts on being on a show, because like you see the name of the show alone, it's like this is a Ricky Shane Page branded event that is going to be death match. Like you got to do something different to stand out on a show like this. I did not know before the match started that you guys weren't going to have the thumbtacks already on your kick pads. Like you had to put them on with your hands, and they were getting all stuck in your hands and stuff. You guys are psychos. What was the experience like doing that match against TJ Crawford? Of course, you came up on the short end of that one. You got hit in the nuts with, thumbtacks attached. So, I mean, what are you going to do? But,
Exactly.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the concept, though. I thought it was a good match that stood out on a show that was full of, crazy stuff.
Yeah, thank you for the question and for the comments, Steven. I mean, TJ is amazing. It was the idea that we were going to load the kick pads ourselves during the match was a unique concept, and I was down. It didn't quite go the way we wanted. Here's what happened. The tackiness, that double-sided tape on the kick pads, super tacky, okay? And it was put on a few hours before the show. By the time the show rolled around, like just from dust and just stuff in the arena, it had all adhered to those kick pads. And so the tacks weren't quite getting on. Like we tested it, and I grabbed a handful of tacks and slapped them on there, and they basically all just stuck. It was going to be pretty rough. It wasn't as rough, but I think it's still the match I did still really enjoy. I wasn't bleeding everywhere or anything, which I was down for because that's what I signed up to do. But unfortunately for maybe the fans in the arena, that didn't quite happen. But we were still, I had a couple tacks sticking out here and there. It's not like it was a pillow fight by any means. But we were able to kind of work the gimmick of having the bucket of tacks kind of available to reload the kick pads. Again, conceptually, it was a neat idea. The execution wasn't super great, but hey, like you said, we tried something new. We did something different on a deathmatch show. I was down to kind of give it a rip, which maybe in the past I would be really nervous about doing. But again, I'm not as worried about what people think anymore. We tried. It didn't go super great, and we learned from it. So that's the match itself, though. I really enjoyed. TJ's a phenomenal worker. I thought it was a great match. But yeah, the whole tack gimmick maybe didn't quite go. I was told it looked really cool on the stream. We were kicking each other, and tacks were going flying and stuff. Yeah. So stuff was happening, it just wasn't like this super death blood thing that maybe some of those ICW fans there wanted. I was getting a little bit of shit talk, like, what the fuck are you guys doing or whatever?
Bunch of pussies.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, whatever, man, you come in here. I'll hit you with this kendo stick, man.
Well, I mean, no, you did plenty. I mean, like you're trying to do give him like a swirly in the bucket of tacks at one point.
Yeah, we were getting after it, man. I didn't really get much like shitty critiques from it or anything. I think people enjoyed it for the most part. I would have preferred that there would have been more tacks on our kick pads, just to kind of live up to a little bit of like what happened. Like I know Schlack, and then it was some wild stuff on that show. But again, like you said, I always like to try to stand out a little bit, and if I can, in any kind of way, and I felt that was a way to make the match feel different amongst this show that was kind of a death match show or whatever you want to call it.
And next time, to put the tape on just a few minutes before the match instead of hours before.
I just thought they were preloaded and then a
you don't line up with them in your hand so much.
Yeah, but I liked that portion of it because like when I watched it, that's what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be like there were already going to be thumbtacks on your kick pads. I like that you kind of, and you guys started with the kendo sticks and everything, but you kind of had to neutralize them a little bit. And then it's like, all right, now we can put the tacks on and now we can start kicking. I actually like that aspect of the match.
That's cool. I mean, that's kind of what we were going for, you know, again, as I've said, you know, again, I'm breaking kayfabe a little bit or whatever, but like, I just want to tell unique stories. And sometimes we're thrown into these matches where it's like, hey, I don't necessarily want to have these crazy spot fests or like I'm down to have bangers and stuff. Like that's what I go out there to do. But I want to tell a unique story along the you know, across the whole like length of the show. And that's typically always my goal. It's not always possible just because of circumstances or you know, whatever it might be. Like you know, I might not have ever met the person I'm working, and maybe I don't get to talk with them a whole lot, or who knows? Maybe the promoter wants something specific, and we get to stick with that. So those are things that we deal with as wrestlers, and you know, anytime I do get to flex my creative muscles as much as I can, I love doing that.
One follow-up on the tacks specifically, like working with thumbtacks, because this is what terrifies me as a viewer, and what something that would like completely freak me out if I was in the ring is just the loose tacks, like not knowing where they are in the ring. Because I'd imagine you'd rather fall on a group of them than like just one or two and like really feel it. Like for instance, towards the end of the match, you did essentially like a tornado kick into the corner. Yeah. And there was like loose tacks by where your head landed. I don't think you landed on any, but I was like, oh, that was did you?
No, but that's funny you're telling me this, because that's funny you noticed it on the stream or something, like, oh man, his head almost hit. Like I didn't actually have any clue of that, but that is absolutely, like, I've done some, like when I wrestled Danny Garcia a couple years ago at ICW, we were in the chains or whatever. Yeah. And I think the canvas had been used like the night before, and there's just like shards of glass everywhere, and we're like grappling around in this glass and stuff. And so basically exactly what you're saying. You have to be cognizant of hey, look, there's gonna, especially the way we did it with the hand loading, and they kind of just were flying everywhere. So there's just tacks everywhere. Like you got to be careful. Like it's like, all right, I'm not going to be grappling here. This is, or if I do, be ready.
Gotcha. Oh man, it freaked me out. But I'm glad that you're. A
lot. Adrenaline is a hell of a thing. Let's just say that. That's really what it was. And again, I'll be honest. I was asking people because I had never done tax before, and I was like, "So how bad is this gonna suck?" And people were like, "It sucks." And and I was like, "Thanks." And then honestly, it wasn't too bad. But like I said, I'm down. TJ kicked me in the nuts with a kick pad. I'm down to do. I told him. I said, "I'm down to do a rematch. We can, you know, we'll preload them. We'll come out with them already on there, and we can do it again." So that's out in the universe now.
I've got one more random question that it's wrestling related, but just like from last year, 2024, you were a part of one of my favorite tournaments of every year is the SCI, the Scenic City Invitational Tournament, and you made it all the way to the finals in that tournament. Is that something that like you would want another shot in that tournament if the opportunity came up, or like kind of what are your thoughts on like the Southeast independent scene?
I mean, I've heard about SCI for forever. So that was a big honor for me to just be invited to that. I have a fairly good relationship with Matt Griffin, the promoter from Action. I think he kind of found me during COVID, during like a tape study thing. It was like a Zoom call where we were doing match breakdowns of our own matches, and then they would do critiques. Like Matt was there, and I think Drew Cordero was on this call from Beyond, and we were watching one of these matches, and then Matt kind of started talking to me after that. He's like, "Hey, I liked your stuff, blah blah blah," and then that's where he started booking me a little bit, like for WrestleMania against Adam Priest, and when it was in Florida, and then anytime they come up this way, the Action Dean show, when against Erez, And then after that was it? Before that, I guess. I can't remember the timeline, but yeah, SCI. Well, he was part of that too. So, I mean, I absolutely would love an opportunity to get back into SCI. Getting so close like that, and then coming up kind of empty-handed, it's never fun.
Yeah, I wanted to just ask that because I live in Atlanta, so I'm always tapped in on like that action, SCI, TWE, New South kind of like all that stuff, and I see you there like sporadically. I'd like to see you in the Southeast more often, just as a fan. So
cool. Yeah, I mean, I have a great relationship with Action, TWE. I know a lot of again just from being around for a couple years now. I know a lot of those guys like Jaden Newman. I've wrestled him. Kind of a lot of the people, and then again, there's a lot of new younger guys. Darian is amazing. I'd love to wrestle him again.
Yeah. Have you seen Tim Bosby yet?
I haven't.
He's currently the Action World Champion. He's like brand new.
Okay.
And Dylan Hales is managing him on screen, which has been pretty interesting. They're using him kind of like a young Brock. Like he's going out and just like amateur. He was the reason I think that you guys would match up well is he's a state champion amateur wrestler out of high school who went straight from that into what he's doing now in indie wrestling. So nice. Like your style versus his style, I think would be very, very interesting. So
I thought of something real quick. I know we're probably out of time here soon, but
I got two more questions. So
okay, all right, cool. I'm good. I got time. I realized, Jeremy, I maybe kind of skirted around. I wanted to say like I'm going way back now, so I apologize. But you mentioned comparisons or people my expectations, and so what I started. I debuted and like I guess basically I would say Matt Riddle was a pretty big deal when I kind of started. Mm-hmm. Like and it was known that he was he was on the Indies for 2 years and then he was gone. And so I'd be lying if I said I hadn't compared myself to him a little bit. And he's a fucking stallion. He looks like a brick shit house. I don't necessarily have that same kind of look, but I've styled. So and then other, I guess we'll say MMA style workers, I've always kind of compared myself to. I think not in like a bad way, but I've maybe styled myself after a lot of like Japanese work, like Mako Satomura, Minoru Tanaka is like my GOAT. That's a dream match for me. I believe he still wrestles. I'm trying to put that out into the universe. Josh Barnett. But yeah, I mean, so I felt like sometimes I just to be honest, I kind of felt like I was maybe like dollar store Matt Riddle or something, if I was being super critical of myself. And I just didn't like want to be that, so not that anyone's ever really said that, but it's just in my
own. For whatever it's worth, man, like I think you fucking rule. Like every time I watch you wrestle, like the people I'm around, I'm always like, this is like one of my dudes. Cause like what you do, it comes across so authentic. Like, yeah, because I know your history. So like, so I don't want, just for what it's worth, man, you don't come across as dollar store. You come across as fucking badass, dude. Like you're one of my favorite pro wrestlers in the world.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I know. So I work in a way that's like, it's very more like maybe friendly to a more Japanese crowd, so because Riddle was good at working a more like, we'll say Fed style or whatever. At least from what I could tell, and he was maybe trained that way to a degree, like at the Monster Factory and blah, 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 blah. Where I kind of, I wanted to do like more shoot stuff, even in regular matches. Cause I saw, we maybe have even chatted about this, but like, just like Jonathan Gresham, I'm blanking on the, guy from England that
Zack Sabre Jr.
Yes.
I was going old school. I was like Doug Williams, Nigel
Yeah,
McGuinness.
sorry. I mean those guys too, but
William Regal.
they were doing a lot of jujitsu. I felt like a lot of the transitions and things they were doing. I'm like, I know exactly what that is, and I don't know if they learned it from, they might have just got it from wherever. But so those guys were a big inspiration to me as well when I was coming up. But yeah, Jeremy, you said you had some questions, I think.
Yeah, I had one wrestling, one non-wrestling. I'll start with the wrestling. Any WrestleMania plans?
Not right now. So I didn't really like pound the phones or anything. I didn't really put feelers out. I'm open for a call. There may be something in the works. Actually, I just got a message today. I can't guarantee anything though. But so no, right now, no.
I asked largely because, Bloodsport, and I always see you at Bloodsport when I saw they're starting to finally announce matches, and I'm like, where's Makowski? Like, what
I
are we doing?
appreciate you saying that.
Like, what are we doing? Where's
Makowski?
Makowski?
Do you want to call someone out from Bloodsport?
I feel like I have a good relationship with Josh. I feel like I have a good relationship with Brett, Lauderdale. Again, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've said this a few times. I feel like the show is better with me on it 100%. However, I maybe, and I'm just trying to be realistic a little bit, I maybe don't sell tickets right now to a degree. Like, and here's the other thing. This show in particular doesn't even have an indie guy on it.
Yeah, it is. It is very.
It's like all like Stardom, WWE. It's really weird.
Well, to your point, like you wrestled Julius Creed a couple of blood sports ago.
Yeah.
So like you were in that spot against a WWE guy.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's value in that. I mean, like you're saying you don't know.
But I see.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm not a marquee name necessarily. Maybe to casuals or the I don't know. That's me being self-critical a little bit. I mean, I'm trying to build my name and become a draw and be a guy that people want to pay tickets and see. And in some cases I am. It's just compared to pretty much everyone else on the show, they have a bigger following than me. It's either WWE people or Stardom or just, I don't quite have the name power yet, and I'm working on it, and I want to get there. I wanted to work my way up the Bloodsport card since I started there in 2019, and I kind of just feel like I'm hitting this weird like wall a little bit. But again, a lot of things happened. Some stuff happened like the last second, like the Charlie Dempsey thing happened at the last second. I was supposed to wrestle Akira that day. It got switched last second, so that fell into my lap. I think that makes me the first guy to ever wrestle a WWE person outside of WWE or an indie guy. I think I'm going to take that for a second and just run with it.
We'll take credit for that. For that.
Yeah. Because Baszler was on that show too, but she wrestled later. And so I think I was the first indie guy to wrestle a contracted WWE person on an independent show. I'm just gonna keep that and hold it here.
Yeah.
But then Creed and that was an experience. We'll call it that.
They owe you, dude. You're out there making other people look great. Listen, you have good opponents. It's not all one-way street, but like, dude, you belong in the Bloodsport events. Like you fit like a glove in these things.
I know. I in my opinion, I should be on every show. I mean, that's my I don't know why I'm not.
If you want to call someone out, dude, we will totally I'll bother people about it.
Do it, because that's what's gonna take. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna be honest, but like I have to market myself more. I have to network maybe a little harder, that kind of stuff. I have to just bother promoters. I don't bug people. I don't bother people. I didn't message. I don't know how much of this I should be saying, but I don't think it matters. If I end up getting an opportunity to go out to Vegas, hey, I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to be there. If you guys need somebody, I'll be there. I'll tell them I want to be on the Europe, the one in England or what it is in September, I believe, the fall.
Yeah.
Again, this is all part of this maybe slight transition for me and just getting a little bit more maybe aggressive about trying to get high profile bookings and that kind of thing. Because all of these things end up being important. For the most part, I've just let things come to me and I'm not trying to say that to be fucking arrogant or anything, but I just, I put out highlight videos and I did that. And that, like, when I first started, and I think that's what got the ball rolling. And like, I started getting booking at Beyond, and then the Bloodsport show in 2019, people, I had networked. I had gone with my trainer who was wrestling at GCW at the time. I met Brett and all that stuff. So that's how it's like any other job, it's who you know and what you do. And so I just need to kind of do that stuff a little bit more, maybe, in addition to just continuing to grow my following and become like a bigger name on the independents, and trying to have fun with it all at the same time. So,
so I will say, knowing you as much as I do know you, I don't think it would ever be a bother to people, because you're not the type of person who is just going to send 100 messages in a minute and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?" Like, but you also got to ask. And I tell this to myself all the time when we book guests for this show. Jensen does all the legwork for this show when it comes to booking guests. I do a lot of the legwork for the other show when it comes to booking guests. And the thing I always tell myself is, like, it's not going to hurt to ask. The worst thing they're going to say is no. And okay, we still got a show to do.
Yeah.
But if we don't ask them to jump on the show, like when I messaged you after Bloodsport in Philly, like, hey, can you come on? Like, if you said no, would have been completely understandable. Wouldn't have thought a second different or anything different about you. But it's like, hey, you came on. It's like, hey, this is cool. We're talking to Makowski a day after Bloodsport. Like, that's a cool thing for our show. So, like, you sometimes just got to ask. And the worst thing they're going to say is no, and you're in the same spot that you were before. Or they're going to say yes, and then you got a booking out of it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm kind of turning a new leaf. There was a time where maybe I didn't want to have bookings, and I just would take the ones that would come to me and then kind of force myself to. I mean, again, we could maybe have another conversation another day about some stuff, but, like, again, I'm not upset. I don't necessarily have the FOMO, because I would get that a lot, all the time. Like, why am I not on this show? Why? What? And again, I don't really fucking ask, but, like, maybe with companies I have experience with, or that I've worked for, and then they don't contact me when they're close or whatever. I don't know. They have their own plan in their head, but yeah, I need to maybe just be a little bit more aggressive about trying to get bookings. Yeah, well, I mean, we could probably talk about this kind of stuff till the cows come home to a degree, but, like, because it's a crazy world out there.
Just message Barnett now and be like, what's John Cena doing? He ain't doing anything.
I want something wild. Like, I know, Steve, we talked about it a little bit, but, like, put Phil in there. Just give me Phil. Like, just let's do it. Come on. Like, give me a break. Like, just make it a. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Who's Louis?
Yeah.
Louis a regular. Louis a good.
He's watching the show live.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, give me Big Phil, and let's do this, man. Like, yeah.
This isn't for Wanderlei Silva. This isn't for Wanderlei Silva.
And then I'm just gonna ruin my career and just completely shoot on him, and just go home and just go out like that. That would be epic.
Oh,
you might might make some friends in some companies.
If he sees this, he's gonna be so pissed. Who's this nobody?
Oh my gosh! I'm not. Jeremy, get the articles ready.
Okay, I just want to wrestle. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
My non-wrestling question. We'll get you out of here on this. What is your shirt?
What's that?
What is your shirt?
Okay, so this is an awesome shirt. I got this at Chris Hero's mixtape.
Okay.
It's the whole roster that was on the show.
It looks sweet. I was like, I really like it, cool. And so I was wondering what it was.
Yeah,
I figured it was a wrestling shirt.
You got the West Coast Pro logo on there. That's very cool.
There's like Wicked. Oh, there I am. Actually, that's me right there. And then that's Jigsaw, and that's Wicked. I teamed with them at West Coast Pro, during this show. That's Brian Keith. Lee Moriarty was on the show, but yeah, it's got everybody's name on the back and stuff.
That's sick.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
a great
sweet
shirt.
shirt.
Great shirt.
Yeah.
And then Chris is up at the top. So yeah, that's the shirt.
Well,
Thanks
I've been
for
staring
asking.
at
I
it.
kind of wore it on purpose.
Okay, I mean, obviously you've been on the show, and I've been staring at it the whole time, just seeing like, wait, like you can tell it's a very like cool kind of design, like very mixed.
He had an artist
design.
do everybody, and we could like pay this artist to get like the sticker of your
nice
thing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, it's very cool shirt. So everybody go. Maybe it's in the West Coast Pro Shop. I don't know if it was an event only type of thing, but it's pretty sweet shirt.
I'm not actually sure. I'm not sure.
Matt, we appreciate you joining us. Oh, go ahead, Jensen.
Yeah, no, this ties in with kind of wrapping up because with kind of the rebrand stuff, you said you were going to be doing like new merchandise and stuff. So definitely let people know where to find that, and you can mark me down for a new T-shirt as well or something. Can
I ask you guys? So like I was thinking this like basically like almost like a jiu-jitsu logo, but it's like a Mako shark. And he's just like kind of looking all
a street shark, like a street shark looking.
Yes, street sharks.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I said to the artist. I was like, "Have you ever seen Street Sharks?"
Yeah. See, we're on the same age, man. We get it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I'm gonna run with this because I was a little. I don't know. Again, I'm just worried about what other people think a little bit, but like,
just make sure it doesn't look too much like the Big Boom.
I'll look into that.
Because they'd be doing the booms with the street.
Right now, I'm at what is it? It's still Matt Makowski. It's a big cartel. So it's the link is on my Twitter, which is at the Matt Mako now. So you can find a link to my big cartel there. And then I'm at Instagram at Matt Mako, I believe. I think that was available. Like I changed that a couple weeks ago to make sure.
It's already been changed on Cage Bash, I noticed.
Yeah.
Current
Did it?
Matt Mako.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who does that stuff? Who does
they're
that?
quick.
They're fast.
It's so awesome. Wrestling fans are the best.
Yes. Thanks again for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, anytime, please.
Hit me up if you ever need anything. You know how to reach me.
You've said that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, likewise. Happy to help. And I do when you get the Street Shark inspired gear or merch, I will absolutely.
I think I'm gonna get foam hats too to give to kids, like a fin.
Okay.
Like I was always into Bret Hart and the glasses. Like Bret Hart's my favorite wrestler. Like I hope to meet him one day. But I was always into how he gave glasses to kids, and so whenever I'm a good guy, I'd maybe like to do something like that. Yeah, we'll see.
That'll get over. With the kids. Kids love that stuff.
That's what I'm thinking, Jeremy.
Yeah, kids love that stuff, man.
Mako's more marketable. It's easier to chant. Mako sucks. Mako sucks. It's just way easier. It's way easier.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, appreciate you guys.
Thanks, you, Matt.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Take care.
Always good to see that guy. Legit, I wasn't just gassing him up. Legitimately one of my favorite wrestlers in the world to watch. I love watching his matches. Think he's unique.
He's so nice too. I told the story of him jumping on last year after literally 12 hours after he got done wrestling Charlie Dempsey. He was on with us, and then we got him down for a longer interview. But it was when I went to Sean's match at BLP, and he came up to me. He's like, Jeremy. I was like, Matt, and we were both very awkward because I'm bad at introducing myself at people, so I felt bad. I was like, oh shit, that was an awkward interaction. But he's always been super cool and appreciative of things, and I appreciate him how much how just generous he's been with his time. And again, he just joined us for an hour just now, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, he ruled. I'm weird sometimes too with that, where if I meet someone at an indie show that I've already interviewed, but especially if it's been a while, I usually introduce myself as hey, I'm Stephen from Fightful or from the Spotlight, if you remember. And usually they're they remember, but every now and then the best is when someone comes up to you. If I'm taking pictures at a show and a wrestler sees that you're tweeting and then they come up to you during the show, that's the tops for me, because then that breaks up all the awkwardness when they're hey, I'm so and so, and I'm like, yeah, duh, of course I know who you are, you know what I mean? I can't believe you came up and talked to me. But But I always don't know how to do that either, because I can't go in like assuming anyone knows who I am, even if I have interviewed them before, because obviously I'm not the only person that's ever interviewed somebody in the past. So
I don't like bothering people either. So like even if I know them a little bit, I just don't like the only people that. So it was against Sean's match. I went up to Shaza because she was wrestling Sean that night, so that was very easy. And I just did they did the media call thing the gimmick media call that I was part of. So Shaza knew who I was, and that was a very easy thing. Garini was someone who's been on the show multiple times, and he came up to me and introduced himself as well. And at Cole's show, Trevor Outlaw was somebody who we passed that. I introduced myself to him, but yeah, that's I try not to bother people. Like, you know, the wrestlers, they got to get in their zone and everything. It's like I don't want to bother anybody when you're trying to work and stuff.
See, the most fun is after, right when the show went, especially like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but there's been after GCW events that I've attended, usually like it can be a pretty fun time for like right when those shows end. It's definitely a crowd of characters. One of the funniest things I've ever seen, I think I've talked about on the show before, but after one GCW event, the entire parking garage is just getting hot boxed. I mean, it's just weed everywhere, and all the cars are trying to get out of the parking garage, like this little garage next to center stage, and like it's like this whole line, so it's taking for everyone to get out. It's taking forever for everyone to get out of there. Everyone else is like sitting on their cars smoking, and Nick Gage is leading the charge of the GCW crowd of helping direct traffic out of the parking garage, and they're all telling people, "Have a safe motherfucking drive." You know what I mean? Like, and there are Jordan Oliver's out there, like, you know, to helping people get out of the parking garage. And just like, it's such a trip seeing these guys out there. They're out there, you know, bleeding buckets, cutting each other up with pizza cutters and light tubes, and then like they're all hanging out after the show and helping you get out of the parking garage. It's just, it makes me love independent wrestling. It's the best.
All right, let's we got a few more topics to talk about.
We'll go pretty quick here. I think we had one more AEW that we can touch on real quick, and then everything else should be pretty fast.
Yeah, MJF he was going to join the Hurt Syndicate, and then Lashley and Shelton came out, and Lashley ripped up the card, and I don't think he's joining the Hurt Syndicate anymore. But what'd you think of this segment, Jensen?
So it's interesting because MJF clearly talks about how like he shouldn't get close to people, because the only time that's ever happened was like the Adam Cole thing that blew up in his face. I know he has the history with MVP. They've talked about that. They played off that with one another. I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this outside of like, I guess the intended result or whatever was MJF. So I guess what I'm confused about is, because I've been talking about for months now, how the Hurt Syndicate is like, they're baby faces, like they're booked like heels, but they get baby face reactions. MJF is a heel that kind of is leaning babyface again to a degree, depending on how you look at this. And it's just a confusing dynamic, because for MJF to want to join the group, it makes him kind of come off like a baby face, because like the Hurt Syndicate, I know it sounds really confusing how I'm trying to explain this, but like, the dynamic is just strange. And I never expected MJF to actually join the group. I thought it'd be interesting if he did. Like, I'd be interested to see what they did with that. But I guess I'm not saying it's a bad thing, by the way. I'm not saying like this is a bad storyline or I'm not interested at all. Like I said, I think it's just a weird dynamic, and I guess we're gonna get MJF versus members of the Hurt Syndicate eventually. But it's also kind of weird because Lashley and Shelton are the tag champions. So I don't know how MJF even like factors in wrestling these guys.
I think this is setting up for a Hurt Syndicate babyface run more than MJF babyface.
Sure. I can see that too. I understand what you're saying. How they
I think
could play
MJF.
it like that.
think MJF gets some type of backup to help him. I don't know who that is. I'm not going to throw out their Wardlow because I feel like they've tried that one a million times.
But I feel like do that again.
I feel like he gets some sort of backup to help solidify him as the heel, and then Hurt Syndicate comes out of this as baby faces.
I've seen people like speculate about like reuniting MJF with Richard Holiday and Hammerstone, but I think it's also, I think, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to do that, but once again, like beyond whatever that initial push is, if they did that, Richard Holiday, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but like Richard Holiday would get extra lost in the mix on that roster, like extra lost. But Hammerstone might have a chance because like he has like a different look than a lot. I mean, although there are plenty of like big dudes in AEW that can work. Hammerstone really screams to me like NXT. Like if he was an NXT, I think that's his best shot to like be the most successful in the short term. But those are just two names that I thought of too, because like they have like a history through MLW, Hammerstone, Holiday, and MJF. So I guess it's something to maybe keep your eyes on. But I think it's more likely that it isn't those two guys. I think Wardlow is a possibility, but I don't think that you can only do that so many times. I mean, like what's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I mean, it would literally be insane to try Wardlow and MJF again. But also, I don't know what the hell you do with Wardlow going forward. He hasn't been on the show in what feels like forever. So last he was on the show, wasn't he like kind of splitting up with the Undisputed Kingdom group?
He was giving looks. Yeah, he was. It's been about a year since he's been. Actually, I think it's been over a year. The last time he was on the show was when he challenged Joe for the title, and Joe lost the title at Dynasty. So yeah, has to come up. I mean, I can easily look this up.
That's unreal that it's been that long already. There's so many people on that AEW. Like I don't remember last time I saw Saraya do any. I know that she left, and we're gonna talk about that. But like, how many people are on this AEW roster just collecting a paycheck year after year that don't do anything? And I'm not blaming the wrestler, by the way. I'm just saying like that's crazy business.
It was March 13th, so there you go. Over a year since Wardlow has been seen on television. All right, you mentioned Saraya, so we'll jump into it. I guess I can hit the other bumper for Saraya.
Yeah. Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Saraya announced her AEW departure, said it was mutual, says she's a free agent now. Her contract was up in September. It sounds like they just worked it out to where she could be free now. And so she is a free agent. She's done a lot of media. She's been promoting her book, which is out. And she's obviously been asked a lot about WWE. And she mentioned the possibility of going back. And then when it came to AEW, she basically said, like, there's not anything that's really there for me. She talked about possibly doing a match against Mercedes because there's the story there, because Mercedes was the one who kicked her at the WWE show and caused the retirement. And she said Mercedes was open to that, but Mercedes is obviously doing a lot right now. So doing a full-on story with Saraya maybe just wasn't in the plans. And then she seemed pretty honest about where she thought her place was in the AEW landscape right now, which is they just really ain't got nothing for me. I don't really see how I fit in. So whatever she's going to do next, hopefully it works out for her. It seems like she's got other projects that have her attention right now. But what'd you make of Saraya leaving, and any thoughts on just her overall run?
Underwhelming run. She just wasn't around much. Like outside of the initial push, which once again, it's not just her. There's been plenty of people in AEW that this has happened to. She won the title at Wembley, didn't she?
Yeah, she won the title at Wembley. Yeah, at the first and then she lost it a month and a half later to Shida. Yeah.
So, but I mean, good moment for her. I mean, that's very cool for her on a personal level. I mean, the thing. So there's a lot of factors. It's one of those things where I can't sit here and be like, it was a giant failure, or like nobody, or like she shouldn't have went to AEW or whatever. Like I can have my own thoughts on like general business practice of like, unless Saraya was injured or something, which I don't think that she was, like the fact that, because I can't imagine she was she's probably making very good money. I just have to imagine coming off of with her name value, coming out of the WWE when she did, people really wanted to see her wrestle because people thought she'd never wrestle again because WWE wouldn't let her with the concussion history and that. Well, it was concussions mainly, wasn't it? Like neck, spine, concussion stuff.
I don't think it was so much concussion as it was neck and spine.
Okay. Well, either way, we're talking like serious stuff, obviously. And I understand why WWE would be cautious and wouldn't have wanted her to wrestle at the time. I get that. But my point is, like, I'd imagine Tony Khan was giving her really good money, and she was at home or just not there for like a lot of her run. And for me, I'm like, man, I wish, at my shoot job, I could just tell my boss, like, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I still get paid to not do anything for an entire year. Like that, and that's a whole other separate conversation in itself. But as far as like what we actually saw on screen, that's why it goes kind of hand in hand, because like we just didn't see a lot on screen. We had like that weird like group of like her and Tony Storm and Ruby Soho, right? Weren't they like a group for a little while?
Yeah, the Outcasts.
Yeah, and like that wasn't great in my opinion. Although obviously Tony has gone on to, she's like one of the best things in the whole company. But yeah, it's unfortunate, it's cool. It's cool that she got to go somewhere that would let her wrestle and she got to return to wrestling. Like, that's great for her. I can't say she got her brother a job there, but like her brother did work there for a short time. I don't think he ever appeared on the real show. Like, I don't know if I ever saw Zach on. And I remember, like, I saw the movie when it came out, like the Fighting for My Family movie. I thought it was a good movie. It made me interested in the family and stuff. And, but I guess my overall point is that I understand why Saraya signed there. She probably made good money and she got to return to in-ring action, which is great for her. But on AEW's side, they left a lot of money on the table because, like, I don't think they capitalized on having her, because there's a whole list of matches against women that just never happened that were right there to do, and they just didn't. So now also, I think it's pretty clear. I mean, if I can't speak for Saraya or for Paige, whatever you want to call her now, but I would, if she wants to keep wrestling, WWE is definitely the place to go. I mean, she would immediately be a massive star again there. And that audience hasn't seen her wrestle in so long, unless, of course, you follow along with AEW. But a lot of that fan base just doesn't. Like, a lot of the fan base just watches WWE. Like, and there was years that fan base wanted to see Paige wrestle and she wasn't allowed to. And she'd be able to come back and immediately wrestle on their TV show against women she has history with and new women she hasn't wrestled before. And people forget, Paige was like, she was like the main diva when NXT like started getting hot on the network. And like, I was in New Orleans when she debuted against AJ Lee and beat her for the title. It got a massive pop that night. So yeah, I guess kind of in a nutshell, I think I expect Saraya to wind up back in the WWE again, but it's obvious that she should have done more while under contract to AEW.
I don't know if she's going to wrestle in WWE outside of one-off kind of things. Like, I know her doctors cleared her. She obviously wrestled in AEW, but would that allow her to wrestle in WWE? Would WWE doctors clear her? I don't know what that looks like, because she had the opportunity to return to WWE when she signed with AEW. She's mentioned that, but it didn't seem certain that she was going to wrestle if she returned to WWE when she was first announced that she was leaving the company. And then obviously she went to AEW and did get cleared. So it's probably going to have to be a thing of, will WWE doctors clear her? Because obviously it's all different doctors. And we know the story with Danielson and him trying to get clearance for the longest time, and how his doctor cleared him and was like, yeah, my doctor says it's fine. But WWE doctors for the longest time did not clear him until they did clear him. So would it be a thing of her doctors cleared her, but would WWE doctors clear her?
Yeah, there's no way to really know. I kind of assume that she I would assume that, I don't know if she'll do full time in WWE, but I have to assume if she's going to continue to wrestle that, because like that's another thing too, is like, she's leaving AEW off her contract early. So, I mean, and I have no idea like if she got paid out like her full amount, or if they just like let her go without paying her the extra. Like, I don't know. But the reason that's important is because, Saraya is publicly saying like, thank you to Tony Khan, and she had a great time in the company. She has no ill will. She's not trying to burn bridges, but like you also wanted out of your deal early for some reason. So like, I'm not saying, and it might be literally as simple as like, they're not doing anything with me. Like, there's no point in me being in the company. But if that's the case and you didn't want to wrestle, why would you ask for your release? Just get paid till September. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like she would want to wrestle and probably has a good feeling that she's going to be able to wrestle in the WWE if she's leaving AEW. But that's obviously all just speculation. That's all just me in my own head, how I figure it went down. But, also, like when she came to AEW, the landscape was different, and she was probably very intriguing for her, knowing they were going to Wembley and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of reason for her to want to go to AEW at the time. And then buzz kind of died down for the company in general a bit. Tony Khan is known, it's a known thing, like the shiny toys thing, like some of the fig fed, that he controls in AEW, which I very much respect. I think it's awesome that he gets to do this, but there's a double-edged sword to it. And part of that double-edged sword is there's constantly an influx of new people coming in, getting short pushes and then disappearing. And Saraya unfortunately fell into that.
When it comes to that side of things, they kind of screwed it up very early with Saraya, in that they tried to make her the babyface by saying that Britt Baker had not accomplished anything, and that she had already wrestled on stadium shows and everything. It's like, oh, this is not how you should be playing this. And then they changed course because they did the Outcast and they leaned into a lot of stuff, and a lot of people didn't fully like that because of who she was dating and the stuff that he was doing. And leaning into that was not the best look in the world. And then by the time they put the title on her last year at Wembley, like, it was a cool moment, but the landscape had changed so much by that point. And now it's continued to change. And 2 years ago, essentially, when they put it on title, and the landscape changed, and now it's really changed since Mercedes has come in. And I don't know where Saraya was going to fit in with everything. I thought she was going to be a much bigger deal in that division than she ended up being. And it's not fully her fault. I think not everybody was quite on the same page with everything from the debut, from the first promo, from the first match, and then on. But it definitely didn't have she did not have the impact that I think I certainly expected her to have. And then I'm sure that AEW wished she had it. I'm sure that she even wished she's talked about it in interviews, and she said, like, I wish we could have done certain things differently, but overall I had a good time, and it was really good. So it seems like she's been very kind about her time in the company, which is good. And it sounds like, again, everything was mutual with her and Tony. Everything seems to be good terms and everything, which is really what you hope for when it comes to this. I mean, not me. I love when they take shots at each other. They're all petty, and they want to cause some drama and shit, because that's funny to me. But for real life relationships, I'm glad everybody is on a good terms.
Yeah. It could be way more entertaining when there's when the same thing happens, when Saraya is talking about how Britt Baker has never accomplished anything in the wrestling business, and things can still play out and end amicably, but in other situations you might say that somebody hasn't accomplished anything because they're an empty-headed dumb fuck, or whatever the terminology was, because they haven't accomplished anything in wrestling, and then it blows up to brawl out. So brawl in, brawl out, and all that stuff. So I just think it's I feel partly I don't really feel partly responsible. I'm joking when I say this, but in my action figure room in here, I have a shelf that has almost become equivalent to like almost like voodoo, because I have this shelf that has AEW figures on it. I have all these different AEW figures displayed. Now this one shelf, I have it lined with figures that all of these have been people that have, since I put them on the shelf, have left AEW and have either returned or gone to WWE, or I think they're going to be soon. And it's so crazy how this has worked out. Like the Lucha Brothers are on this shelf, Jade's on this shelf, Saraya's on this shelf, Miro's on this shelf, Alistair's on this shelf. Like, and it's just so funny because like one by one, everyone on the shelf, it's like this has wound up being the shelf of people. So I don't even want to tell y'all who else is on this shelf that hasn't left yet, but I'm over here telling the future with my action figure collection. So, but Saraya's figure, she had a good AEW figure. She only got one, I think, but I bought it. So got a little money out of me for AEW for Saraya. I hope to see her back in WWE, honestly. WWE is so hot right now. Like everyone would love seeing her again. I think it'd be great if she were to be able to return to WWE.
We shall see what the future holds for Saraya, and if she returns or not. Everyone can go purchase her book if you would like. Maybe she ends up in TNA. They got space for anything at this point after releasing Fire. I mean, it's not releasing. They were not talent contracts, but the big names being Errol Scherner and Gail Kim being the name most wrestling fans know. But Scherner was a pretty big name because he was just promoted to president last year. He took over for Scott D'Amore when they fired Scott D'Amore. So a year later, a little over then, now he's gone. And Gail Kim, who's been there for over a decade, well over a decade now, first as a talent and then working behind the scenes, she's also gone. What were your thoughts when you saw this news, Jensen?
Well, I think Gail said that, I think in a tweet, I think maybe from today, I think I read that she said like 17 years total with TNA/Impact, which I believe. I mean, that's wild. I know she had like left and done some stuff with WWE again and come back and stuff, but she's really been, people don't give her, well, I shouldn't say they don't give her enough credit, but like today's current fan that wasn't around for like the early days of TNA might not understand how important Gail Kim was to women's wrestling and like what women's wrestling became, specifically her series of matches against Awesome Kong. Like those were like, for me at least, as like a US wrestling fan, because back then I wasn't as familiar with like a lot of like the Japanese female wrestlers and stuff that had like shown out, like Toyota and stuff like that. Like I didn't know, and I still don't know nearly as much about like women's Japanese wrestling and stuff outside of like the names that everyone would know. But the reason I say this is because Gail Kim is one of the women that really opened my eyes to like, she's having better matches than the men. Like, and that was not the norm when she was doing it. She has the respect of all the wrestlers. She has the respect of the fans. She's one of the main reasons why the Knockouts division has been so consistently successful and entertaining in TNA. I think I read something that she wishes that they would have done more. Like I said, she could have gotten more like from the Knockouts division, like in current times. Like it sounds like she was trying to push for more for them, and having someone like Masha be the champion, like you can only imagine how much better it would be if Gail Kim could do more with that stuff. And so I guess to me, it just seems like a firing that really doesn't make much sense at all. Like you're getting rid of, they got rid of somebody who is well respected by the fans and by the wrestlers and seems to be really well liked and was really good at her job. And I mean, you don't hold the job for 17 years if you're not good at it. So it's just kind of a head scratching move. And I think I saw that like Tommy Dreamer and Delirious are kind of like stepping into like the roles that she was doing, which nothing against those guys. Like we'll see how it goes, but like also for Ariel, that was his name, Ariel Scherner. That's weird too, that like you would make a management change that significant only a year in after firing. A lot of the stuff I said about Gail Kim could be echoed for for Scott D'Amore as far as like the wrestler, like the backlash. Like I've seen wrestlers that work for TNA tweeting like, what the hell? Gail Kim, like, why would you get rid of Gail Kim? Like what? You know, so like that's my thoughts about it. It just feels like a move that was unnecessary. I understand in business. I'm not saying this is right. I know in business, sometimes people just want to shake stuff up. And when new management comes in, doesn't matter who you are. You might have been there forever. Sometimes they come in, they clean house, they bring their own people. But like, it just seems like the wrong move to get rid of Gail Kim. And the other thing is she's going to be able to go out and just prove them wrong because she's going to immediately wind up getting a job if she wants with either AEW or WWE. And so she's going to continue to be a part of the wrestling business and continue to positively contribute. So this isn't the end of Gail Kim. It's just unfortunate she got fired from TNA for what seems like no reason.
Yeah, she mentioned that this is not the last of Gail Kim in the wrestling world. And I would imagine that if anybody calls her, she will have her options. And what I mean by if anybody calls her, of whether it's WWE, AEW, MLW, like she will have her options out there, because I suspect a lot of companies will be calling her, and I suspect a lot of talent will be calling her and pushing for her to be part of the company as well. Because if I'm a female talent in any company, I'm going to my boss and being like, yeah, we should hire Gail Kim, because Gail Kim's going to advocate for you, and she's going to advocate for the division.
Oh, dude, perfect fit would be her going to the WWE and working with the women who, she's got Jordan Grace and the crossover there with women she's got history with in TNA, plus all the clout she already has from her WWE run and the relationship she has with the women she worked with in the WWE back in the day and stuff. Like Gail Kim would be a perfect bridge of like the old generation and the new generation. She knows all of them. Yeah, it just seems like a bad move by the new TNA management, ownership or whatever. So
yeah. All right, and then our final indie spotlights. Matt Makowski was our other indie spotlight.
Yes,
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Final indie spotlights of the evening is Chris Bay at the Chris Bay Benefit Show put on by Future Stars of Wrestling. He appeared at the end of the show. He thanked the fans for the love, fans for the support, and walked down to the ring. His partner Brittany Brooks was there with him. He hugged Hammerstone and Cross after their match. They were the main event on the show, and Chris Bay able to walk. And I know he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet last week, talking about his hopeful comeback. The greatest story ever told. Who knows if and when it's going to happen? It's just good to see Chris Bay on the show and out in front of a wrestling crowd and getting a lot of love and support.
Yeah, 100%. There's not a whole lot more I can honestly add to it. I talked about this quite a bit on the Weekender podcast covering the FSW event. Great to see the wrestling world come together. Obviously, the circumstances are not ideal, right? You don't want anyone to ever get a serious injury, obviously. But the one silver lining of it is like seeing people from all different fans, no matter what the tribalism is, all the different wrestlers from different companies. You had guys like it was Karrion Kross and Hammerstone wrestled on this show and stuff like that. Like there was this show, right? Hammerstone and Karrion Kross. Yeah. Because they had like Austin, Ace Austin was obviously on the show. He's Chris Bay's tag partner, so that's obviously really emotional, seeing him out there representing for Chris Bay and stuff. And it's good to see the wrestling world kind of come together for like a good cause to help somebody who's like the overall consensus is like Chris Bay is a good dude, and like people are really pulling for him. And it's one of those things where like I got really emotional watching it, as I'm sure everyone did, watching him walk to the ring, because this is a dude who is ultra athletic. I mean, like super entertaining in-ring wrestler. And he suffered an incredibly scary injury that like you're not even guaranteed to ever walk again, ever stand up again. You could be straight paralyzed forever on something like that. It's just incredibly scary. And you see stuff even like Lex Luger just being able to stand out of a wheelchair, how much of a win that is. Like to be able to do something that you never thought you'd be able to do again. And like, it is a reminder of how dangerous wrestling is, and what these people are putting how much they're putting themselves on the line for our entertainment every time they do this. And it's just such a humongous win, a humongous victory, like for Chris Bay to just be able to make that walk and be able to get in the ring and talk to the crowd and thank the crowd. And he said, like, to everyone, he's like, without you guys, I'm nothing. It's like how he put it, you know, he feels like his people around him and his loved ones and the fans and the wrestlers, like everyone coming together has really helped him in this process. And, you know, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to return to the ring. I know it's a long process and it's going to be small steps and little victories along the way. But when Chris Bay was talking about the greatest story ever told, like I believe him. Like I believe he's going to do it. Who knows when it'll happen, but it's going to be an incredible day seeing it when it does happen. And yeah, I thought it was a good thing you guys did too. Like you guys have been helping out. Like I wish I could have been a little more involved. Like how did that go, by the way, the benefit? You guys did the Chris Bay benefit.
Oh, good. Yeah, we had a good amount of super chats on Friday, and I sent that to Joe of FSW. And Joe actually popped on the show Tuesday. I think, yeah, Tuesday show. He jumped on and just talked about how the benefit show went and talked about Chris being there and everything. So he actually broke the news that Ricochet was getting married this week before Ricochet showed up on Dynamite to announce that. Joe mentioned it. He's like, oh yeah, he's in Vegas this week because his wedding is this week. So we had that scoop on Tuesday that Ricochet got married this week. So yeah, it was good. Joe DeFalco has been really cool with us these past couple of weeks, joining in the weeds and talking about the show. Nice.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, it was great to see Chris Bay walk to the ring and, hear from him inside the ring, but it's scary. It's scary when you see that stuff happen. It can literally happen to, we've seen things like Adam Cole shatter his literally just running to the ring, basically. We take this for granted. We take this stuff for granted when we see these guys and girls and everyone out. They go out there and they do stuff that we think is just basic, just easy. We've seen it 1,000 times. For them, like literally, they're risking paralysis every time they leave their feet. That's the honest truth of it. Yeah, nothing but love for Chris Bay. Great dude, fan of his. Can't be one of the greatest moments in the history of wrestling when he's back. I believe he's going to be back. I really do.
I hope so. I would like to believe that as well. But I also don't. I feel like when I say he'll be back, it puts like a pressure on him that I don't want to. Not that he's listening to this show, but like I don't want to feel like there's any type of pressure on him. Like if he returns, it will be one of the best moments in wrestling. And if he doesn't, like that's very unfortunate. But as long as he has a good quality of life, that's what matters.
The reason that I say like so strongly is because the only way, not because I'm saying it obviously, but the only way that he can possibly do it is he has to really believe that it's possible. Because like it is like what he's dealing with is such a uphill battle. But like I believe his word. I believe when he says he's going to do it. Like I really like. I want to put that energy out into the world. You know what I mean? Like I want to see this happen. I know you do too. Obviously, but I understand what you're saying too. Like if Chris Bay was in this call with us right now, I don't know how much I would be like, "You're going to do it. You're going to do it. Do it for me. Do it for me. If you don't do this, man, my life's over." You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to try to put added pressure on somebody, obviously, but I do believe that he's going to be able to make a comeback one day. Nothing but love for that guy.
Yeah. All love to Chris Bay. And if you haven't already, check out the benefit show. It's on Triller Plus. So everybody can watch that benefit show. All right, Jensen. Anything else before we wrap up here?
No, we're good. Thank you again to Matt Mako for joining the show. Matt Makowski with the rebrand. Good dude. Good conversation. If you want to follow me on X, it's FightTalk_. You can use code FightTalk at independentwrestling.tv. And the Weekender over on FightfulSelect.com. usually on either Sundays or Mondays. Once again, it just depends on what's going on, like what indie shows are happening on Sunday night and that kind of stuff. But always at least once a week on Sundays or Mondays, FightfulSelect.com, covering the world of indie wrestling over there on the Weekender. But outside of that, that's pretty much everything I got. And y'all enjoy your sports. That I want to talk about sports at the top of the show, and I was like, I swear to God, I kept blanking. I was like, there's something I need to be bringing up, and I cannot remember what it is. And it was that we were having a guest on the show. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Good seeing you again, Jeremy. Glad we got it. Usually these shows will probably be closer to like 8:30 end time probably, but Matt gave us like a whole hour. We were expecting like a half hour or so. If this show's a little longer than normal, that's why for everybody. But we weren't going to cut off Matt. Obviously, he's the man.
No.
So, and I don't want to get my ass kicked. So
appreciate everybody joining us here tonight. I will be back tomorrow right here on this channel in about 13 hours from now, if my math is correct. 13 hours from now, myself and Joel Pearl in the weeds. I don't think we have a guest tomorrow, so it'll just be us. Joel will bury AEW because he hates AEW, and I will still cry about Blake Christian losing because he should have never lost. Otherwise, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, and Jensen and I will be back next week. Till then, talk to everybody later. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.